And I thought The Long Walk was an interesting film. I just saw him, which is a sports horror film, or at least that is what it is marketed as. I am going to tell you my thoughts on it. Kind of going to start with general feelings towards it, and then we'll get into some more spoilers. So just to give you an idea, Cameron Cade is this up-and-coming quarterback, and he idolizes Isaiah White, who is played by, oh no, Marlon something. I remember it will come back to me at some point. And basically he gets an injury, and Isaiah White takes him in, and they go through some training together, and yeah, it gets a bit weird. And no, it doesn't get a bit weird. It's very weird. If you've seen some of the trailers, you know kind of what is going on. There's some unorthodox methods of training going on, shall we say. I won't say any more than that at this point. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this film. Same with The Long Walk. I think The Long Walk is a more cohesive film in terms of its story. The story of this is a wee bit underwritten. I think they have the idea of a sports film that focuses on head injuries has the potential to be a very realistic, very scary film. Like, you have, like, with head trauma, you can play about with the kind of what the character sees, and they do to an element try that, but they don't go deep enough. There's a few scenes in particular that I'd like to kind of speak about in the spoiler section about that. I think it's well acted. I think it is very well acted. The two leads, I think, do a great job. I think some of the shots in the film, like the cinematography, the actual presentation of it, I think is great. I think there's some really cool shots in here. They use like Mortal Kombat kind of X-ray style shots at some points, and it looks amazing. It looks absolutely fantastic. But I don't care enough about what's going on, and that is down to the story not being that good. Now, I've seen a lot online about this being, a piece of trash, and it's a terrible film, and it's by no means a terrible film. I don't think it's a very good film. Do I think it's a good film? I think there's good elements to it. I think the story ultimately is where it let down, and some of its execution in its horror, because it's not a horror film. Like, it's advertised as such. It's kind of marketed in that way, but at no point was I scared. At no point did I feel like, oh, this is scary. It just felt very underwhelming from a story point of view. The main, like, again, you could have such a good film. This kind of idea of focusing on the injuries and how it could be made better through, I don't know what I'm trying to say, to be honest with that. I'm trying to say the idea of having head concussions could make a good horror film. You could really play with the audience expectation, and I don't think they do that enough. We're going to get into spoilers now, so if you don't want to hear any of that, skip off the video, go watch it, and then come back. So, Isaiah White's basically, he is this blood has been transferred from GOAT quarterback to GOAT quarterback, and he is the next iteration of it, and Cameron Cade is supposed to be the next iteration of it. He's supposed to be the one who basically takes on this mantle, being the GOAT, through this blood that is it's Satan's blood. Like they done a kind of good job early on of kind of playing about with it, but then in the last 20 minutes, if that, they just go full blown cult, and nothing nothing is mysterious anymore. It's a cult. The devil's involved, or there's some sort of satanic worship that's involved, and yeah, Cameron Cade is essentially the next in line to get the GOAT mantle, with the symbolism of the goat and the devil. Again, could be quite a clever idea, but it's kind of just shoved in your face at the end. Up until that point where they kind of, the final few scenes, it was a very kind of abstract, artsy film. Like there was a lot of kind of scenes of partying with horror going on that wasn't quite, you didn't see enough to kind of guess what was going on with the horror. And then it went back to the partying, so you're like, is this in his head? Again, they could have played that up. Like, is he seeing it's real? The bit that I wanted to talk about is, so there's this super fan of cults, and again, the themes in here, religion, sports, these sports stars being considered saviors, messiahs, it's all a great idea, but it's just not executed well enough. Like Marlon Wayne, I told you I'd remember his name, told you. Marlon Wayne's character has this group of fans who are like a cult, but you don't spend enough time with them. One of the key figures, if you like, of the cult, who you see early on, who you know, who very predictable was going to be involved at some point in a horror way. This was their idea of horror. She sneaks into the sauna and tries to kill or hurt Cameron Cade. Doesn't work, she gets choked out, and Marlon Wayne throws her against the wall with some super strength. Again, he's got that blood, so he's superhuman or super devil or whatever. And the next day, I should probably talk about the days. And the next day, they talk about how, like, Cameron Cade says, oh, is that woman okay? And Isaiah's like, what woman? And I was like, okay, good, keep this up. Like, play more about with this. Like, what woman did you talk about? Like, nah, there was no woman. And have it be in the audience's head. Was that something in his head? Is Isaiah, did this all happen, but Isaiah's playing with him because he killed her? Like, you could add all that, but then literally the very next line is, nah, I remember the woman. And you're like, oh, you had a chance to really kind of manipulate and play with the audience expectation, but you didn't. And yeah, I think it just kind of, that's where it falls short. So it has these great ideas with the symbolism, with the themes, but it doesn't execute. It just does not execute them well enough. It does not fulfill the promise of this sports horror film, which I hope people aren't turned off by this and people actually do take another stab at it, because I think it has the potential to be good. Just needs a bit more meat in the bones in terms of the story, in terms of wanting me to care about what's going on, because throughout, so basically when he gets to the facility, the day's broken in, it's broken into a week, and the kind of different chapters. So the first chapter is, oh my god, I can't remember. The second one, so the second day is poise. First one's fun, okay? So they try to play it off as this, kind of each day has a different theme and overarching message. But does it work? Because they spend so little time on each day that I don't think it really carries over. The message is quite confusing at times, because day 2, which is poise, I thought could have been leadership, which was like day 3 or 4, because they end day 2 with, like, you know, the quarterback, he's the one who takes all the glory, but also he's the one who is at fault for the defeat. And that's kind of, you know, taking on that leadership role. You are in charge. But I guess poise, like, they've got all that weight in the shoulder so that they have to stand up. But again, that's me reaching, I think, for that. And it didn't seem like they knew how to execute the days and the themes within the day. and then the themes within the movie. It just felt very underwhelmed, and there's a great idea here, but it's not fulfilled in any way, stretch or form. Again, there's no real horror scenes. Like, there's no real horror scenes in it. I was not scared. And let's get to the ending, because what was quite a subtle kind of artsy kind of piece is completely thrown out the window. And to be honest, I enjoyed the ending, but I because something happened, because they were trying to be like kind of mysterious in the start, but nothing was really going on. Well, there was, but I don't think they were doing a good job of executing it. The end, Cameron Cade and Marlon Wayne, basically, Isaiah White, sorry, have a fight. Cameron Cade takes his position as the GOAT, and there's a satanic cult out there. He's been groomed since he was a child to be the next one, to be the next saviour, and he rejects it. And he kills everyone with a sword. And that's how it ends. That's how the film ends. And the whole, like, saviour program is done. Yeah, it's just like it's a good. I'll be the first one to admit it. It's a goofy ending. It's not the best ending in the world. Did I enjoy the copious amounts of blood? Of course, Evil Dead 2 is my favourite film. But it just kind of veered in a direction that I didn't think it needed to go in. Very obvious that there was some sort of cult involved, and they just throw it in your face at the end, and you're like, okay. Like, what I'm thinking of for this type of film is, you get a call, like Isaiah White has made a call, he's got the head injury, and almost like a Fight Club kind of scenario, where he's seeing Isaiah White, but he's the one doing the acts, like something like that, because of the brain injury. Like, Isaiah White is still pretty off the wall, but in terms of like him, like Cameron Cade being drugged and stuff, you could really play about with who's in whose situation. Like, when Cameron Cade's doing the more extreme stuff, Isaiah White's there, but he's not there, because it's all in his head and Cameron Cade's the one actually doing it. That would be a much more interesting premise, I think. But you are borrowing, obviously, a lot from Fight Club. But you have your own spin on it, because it's sport and it's injuries, which are very common. The real horror here, concussion and CTE. That's the real horror here. And if that's what they were going for, they weren't going for that. They weren't going for that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on him. Like, with The Long Walk, I don't feel I need to watch it again, but with him, I think I do. Which is weird, because I think The Long Walk's the better film. I think him has a lot more problems than The Long Walk, but I believe that it's more interesting. Can that be? Can a worse film be more interesting? I guess it can. And that's what we're going to end on, because I'm very confused at my thought process here. So, what do you think about him? Have you saw it? If you got this far, you might as well subscribe. Leave a like, do all that good stuff below, let's talk about it in the comments. Is it a complete bomb? Like, I think it is going to be a bomb, but is it a complete flop in terms of your expectations of it? Did it live up to your expectation? You might have thought it was going to be bad, you might have thought it was going to be good. Let me know in the comments below. And with all that being said, all that's left to say is any thoughts, comments, general hostile remarks, leave them below. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.